One of the best ways to find out how much capital you'll need to both start and operate your business is to do some interviews. You want to find the entrepreneurs who have already traveled down the path that you're embarking on and speak with them. If you're starting a spa, you want to speak with other spa owners who have maybe started their businesses within the last few years. These are people who will be able to give you a general understanding of what the costs are related to starting a business that was started in a fairly recent time period. You want to stay away from businesses that were started a long time ago, as those startup costs may differ. However, businesses that are still ongoing that started a while ago may also be a good place to speak with those owners or operators, because they have been able to stay in business for a long time and are quite obviously doing something right. They may be able to shed some light on current operating costs, which of course will factor into your capital needs as well. Another place to check into are trade associations and trade shows. Almost every type of employment opportunity or every type of business has an association or a trade show associated with that industry. You want to get connected with them, as they are a wealth of information, both the trade shows themselves and also the people who attend the trade shows. If you can find an associated trade show in your area, you should be able to contact several of the owners of those businesses, meet them at one of their trade show meetings, and ask them a lot of questions about the costs associated with running their business. Another important site or sites are your local library and also a general website that you might be able to try. Again, you might find website resources at the trade association or trade show events. Also, most of the trade associations are online now, and you should be able to find resources via their websites as well. Librarians are still out there, believe it or not, and their job is to help you find what you need to know. So similarly, there are no shortages of websites that will help you find the information you need as well. Doing a simple search for your type of business and the costs associated, which should be populated pretty easily. The goal in doing these interviews, going to the trade association and trade shows and speaking to your librarian and doing research on websites, is to find out what barriers of entry there might be in terms of opening this kind of business or the business that you're planning to open. One of the first things that you need to do in terms of determining how much capital you need is to determine how much capital you need to start your business, and that includes everything from paperwork, forms, legal work, state registration, licensing, any special licensing you need, like medical licensing, doctors, nutritionists, real estate agencies, and other real estate professions. Again, here your goal is to determine a number, a bottom line number. Exactly how much do I need to get the company started and off the ground? This doesn't relate to any kind of operating cost that you're going to have, which we'll talk about in just a moment. This is a pure bottom line number which relates to how much you need to file the paperwork, get your business up and running, and begin to get to the point where we're able to operate that business. If you remember before, when we spoke about some of the reasons that make businesses fail, not correctly estimating your startup costs were one, and the second most prevalent reason for businesses failing is not correctly estimating, or rather underestimating, the amount of capital it takes to keep a company in operation until it's able to turn a profit. The SBA and SCORE will tell you that, generally speaking, you need to account for 6 months of operation. Generally speaking, that's the time frame in which a properly formed business should be able to turn a profit. There are certain things that you'll need to take into account when you talk about starting your company initially and the first 6 months of operation. So initially, let's talk about a few things that you're going to look into for your initial or startup capital expenses. The first expense that you're obviously going to encounter is, of course, the company formation. You will need to form the company, whatever it is. If it's a sole proprietorship, you'll need to file the appropriate paperwork with the federal government and with your local taxing authority and licensing authority, and that will have an associated fee. Filing a corporation or an LLC will be more expensive than filing a sole proprietorship, and in many cases, filing other entities like LLPs or limited partnerships or general partnerships will range somewhere between the sole proprietorship and the corporation fees. Another fee that you'll normally encounter are legal and accounting fees. You may need to set up an accounting system. You may need to pay an attorney to go over the company formation documents for you. If you're not paying an attorney and you don't know how to do it yourself, you should look for a business consultant similar to that of Cornerstone Funding who has experience filling out and filing those documents for you. You're also going to need to get licenses and permits. Depending on the type of business you are, you may need a specialty license. Depending on the type of location you're going to occupy, you may need a specialty permit. In certain locales and municipalities, you may not be able to have a home-based business, so you should look into those things and determine how much it costs to operate in the location you want to operate. If you're planning on occupying in an older building and doing some remodeling to get the building or the office or the location up to par with the way you want to operate it, or if you have a specialty brand that you're trying to show people and have people become recognized with your corporation or your company, you may need to put a little bit of work, time, and money into remodeling your location. This should be a cost that you factor into getting up and started in terms of your initial costs. Contacting a contractor or someone who has remodeling experience should be able to give you a quote in terms of how much it would cost for you to get up and running in that area. If you are renting, leasing, or buying real estate, you'll of course have some form of rent, lease agreement, security deposit, or possibly if you're purchasing real estate, you may have other associated costs like property taxes and things like that. Depending on where your location is and what you're looking to do, you're going to need to account for the initial cost of moving into that property, and then of course down the road the added cost of operating or owning that property. Again, things like property taxes, insurance, maintenance, these are all types of things that you'll think about down the road. Another consideration for your initial operating cost or your initial cost for the business is signage and marketing materials. Depending on how you market your services, you'll of course need to spend some money in terms of signage. If you're operating a brick and mortar location, you'll want to have a sign designating exactly what type of business it is, and you'll want to announce to the public where you are and how they would find you, and that's done through signage. Additionally, you'll want to reach your customers through marketing. There are many books written on the subject of marketing, and there are also as many types of marketing out there. You will have to determine whether you're going to focus your efforts in email marketing or internet marketing or direct mail marketing or person to person. And there's a cost to doing each one of those, and you're going to need to research your local market, determine the prices in your local market, factor that into your initial marketing efforts, and also your marketing efforts down the road. If you're a business which sells a product or products, you'll of course need to think about initial inventory. First, you'll have to manufacture the products if it's a product which needs manufacturing, and that will obviously have a cost associated with it. If you're going to carry a certain inventory, or if it's a product you sell in bulk, you'll need to factor in the cost of stocking up on that initial inventory, which of course would be an initial cost to your business. You can't open a business with empty inventory. You need to show people what your inventory is in order to sell it. So you'll need to factor that cost in. In addition, you'll also have to think about costs to furnish your property. If you are a brick and mortar location, you'll need things like furniture, computers, equipment. If you have a specialized business that deals maybe in manufacturing, you might have more expensive equipment than, say, if you were a small retail shop. These are things that you'll want to think about in terms of rounding out the location and giving people an idea or a feel of what your store will be like once it's up and running. There may be additional costs that we don't have on this list here depending on how specialized your business is, but the idea is to go through all of the things in a very systematic process from start to finish that you would need to own and operate your particular business. Again, it's helpful to go out and visit other businesses that are in the same industry as yours. This should be able to give you an idea of the type of things they have in their store, the processes they go through each and every day in running their business, and it'll also give you an idea of what you'll need to put into place to get your business from the thinking part to the actual action part. And these are the types of things that will also help you understand in a logistical sense what you need to complete to get your business up and running. Each one of those items has an associated cost, and you'll want to take a spreadsheet or just keep on a piece of paper an idea of what each of those items cost, and thus when you're done with all the items from start to finish, you'll be able to come up with a total initial capital cost.